Hello everybody, I'm Eternal Reading and we're here with a book review. The book is called Lovecraft's Cat and Other Tales of Weird Fiction, and it is written by C.P. Webster. Also, we know him as Chris, and a lot in this booktube community. He's an independent author, but I think he's had some of his work published in certain magazines in the UK and the USA. Weird Tales sort of magazines, and people that are focused on the sort of weird short stories. I think he also has a novella, yes, in 2023, a novella, Horror Beneath, was published by Biz Archives and is available on Amazon and all your favourite booksellers. Now, I'm actually thinking about buying that one next from him because it's like a novella length, and I would like to see how he approaches the more longer side of the storytelling, because these are very good, but they are short stories, and you can tell Chris tried his best to keep them short stories because I think he's packed a lot in it. Every story has a lot of in it for the atmosphere and for the plot of where it's going, and as soon as everyone has a great ending, it's like setting you up to this brilliant ending. And some of the stories are actually that well written and that fun and exciting that you actually would like them to go a wee bit more. I felt like that with a few. I think they would have been a bit stronger if they were even a wee bit longer. But saying that, they are short stories. It is the short story format. He knows what he's doing. He's wrote these stories out and he's edited them down to make them short story format, so that you're getting the atmosphere and you're getting the weird tales, because weird tales, it has its own way of storytelling. It's not just the plot, it's also about the words on the page, and it's also about the prose and the atmosphere that they can bring to the reader. Where when you're sitting down reading a wee short story, you're the way the writing is, and it's your imagination goes in another place, and there's something eerie, and the characters, it's not full on horror, body horror. That's not what Weird Tales is. It's that sort of unease, not really sure what's going to happen next, or you're in the shoes of these protagonists and you're not really sure if they're going to be safe or not, and sometimes you're not even sure what's going to happen. It's weird. That's what Weird Tales is supposed to be. It's supposed to put you in that eerie, unsure sort of place, and he's done it very well with all these stories. There's 14 in this collection by C.P. Webster, and they are all short. One, you could say, it's a wee bit longer if you put the two together, because there's a couple of short stories and they're right after each other, but they kind of go into one, because the second part set in the future a wee bit, like 10 years in the future, but it's the same characters are back again, and if you put them two together, you could say it's a wee bit bigger. But I didn't read a bad one. They're all very well written. C.P. Webster's great with his words. You can see that he's very inspired and influenced by my favourite writer of all time, H.P. Lovecraft. When I read the first story called Lovecraft's Cat, which is the title of the book, there he is there, wee man. There's a few bits in it where, as I say, it's a short story, so I try not to ruin too much, but the character finds this book, and this book was a book that was held by H.P. Lovecraft in the past, and when he brings it, when he opens the book, a wee sheet of paper comes out, and it doesn't actually tell you that that's who it is, but as we know, that's what it's reference. And the way he wrote them wee bits of paper, you would swear it was Lovecraft. It's done that well. And then you see when he's going through that sort of, as I say, it's not full on horror like your bloody horror or jump scare horror, it's not like that. It's a bit more clever. It kind of goes into them sort of wee horror stories that go into your head a wee bit, and when you're finished them, you can dwell on them a wee bit longer. And that's why I love weird tales. You can read all these shock and horror, blood and guts and all, but they're gone. They switch off. It's just all imagery. These are more deeper, and that's why weird tales is one of my favourite genres to read. And C.P. Webster, he's a weird fiction writer. There's no doubt about it. He's been published in certain places, and he's going to, if he keeps at it, I think he'll still get published. His short stories are very good. But another one that I read, it's about this photographer, the Reliquary. Oh, I'm pronouncing that right. And it's about this photographer that's really into sort of the occult stuff, and he gets too deep into it. And you see at the end of that story, whenever, the way the old pictures, you had to take them into the dark room and get them so that they're, proper, hanging them up and all. I think it was what this guy starts to see coming through these pictures. Even when you're reading it, you're feeling on edge and eerie with the writer. And again, well done. It's just a wee bit I highlight it, so I'll read it. I don't even know what it is, but it's on that book, or that story I'm talking about. Dust on dust indeed, the fairy dust that floated in this room had existed like the atoms of my own being from the dawn of time. Old dust, old bones, we are all the stuff of cold dead stars caught up in the eternal dance of the ether and forced into form here. It's very Lovecraftian. I like it. But the way he ended that reminded me of Dagon. I don't know if that's where he got his idea from, but just the way he ended the story, where the guy's writing and something's coming. I'll just say that. And it reminded me of Dagon. And then we got the Pimlico Vampire, and that's the one where I'm talking about the two stories kind of go together. And it's a good start. It goes a different direction. And it's more like a fast-paced, kind of fun, but definitely something you would have read in the old Weird Tales magazines back in the day. So you would. And then you got one, Sea Witch, which is a very good story. And that's about this guy that has this calling for the sea. And he doesn't know why, but something from the sea side is calling him. And he can't help himself, but he has to listen. He has to follow it. And I say, the way Chris Webster described this man and his addiction of the sea, and he found this up wee thing, and he has dreams. It's well written, and then at the end of that story, don't want to spoil anything, but it's really dark, but it's quite humorous too, I thought. But dark imagery, that's the best way of putting it. And even the characters that are there, even they're in shock, because it's something that's so unique, what they actually pulled out of the sea. So I'll say that for that one. So we'll go on. I don't want to make the video half an hour here, but another thing about these stories, they're all set in the past. A lot of them set in the past. I think Chris, nothing's set in the modern time. There are stories that are, I think he liked more of the olden days, and there's quite a few stories set in Africa. Now, I don't know how long did he live in? I don't know if he spent time in Africa, but there's a few stories set in Africa and about that sort of history, which was very good. And there's a few stories set. Hold on, I'm just trying to find it. There's one that's set in World War II time. There's a couple set around not World War II, but you're going back to the Nazis. And there's one called The Duelist, where you've got these. Oh, that's a great story. That's a story about these fighter pilots. And they're fighting in the sky. British and the German. And they go into a storm. They go into a Bermuda Triangle. That's the way I kind of imagined it. But they go into another land, and it just turns Lovecraftian. But the way these two characters are, and the way the German is with the English guy, it's like they have to help each other. there has to be a pack to get off this island. But who is the pack to, or what is it for? You'll find that out when you read that one, The Duelist. It is very clever ending, I thought. So it was, and as I say, the imagery is very good. You're getting these worlds that are Lovecraftian, and I love the ending of that. So that was a great book, or a great story. And you get another one here. Just going through them here and picking ones out. A Weekend at Uncle Andrew's. It was very atmospheric, and it's about this boy, young nephew, not really having luck in his life, but he ends up inheriting this house from his uncle. He was like a strange man, even like shunned from the family for his strangeness. But it's a house for him because he's kind of stuck at the minute for his work and money, and so he moves into it, and he's just thinking of it as a way of making a few pound. But there's a place to stay, and the atmosphere of that house, and him going down, finding certain things, and then when he goes up and he's lying in his bed, it reminded me of like Clark Ashton Smith-esque stuff too. You know, it's slithering things. That was a good one too. The Weekend at Uncle Andrew's, great short story. And that's what they're like. They are short. You're talking maybe 6-7 pages, some of these, and it's a great wee sit down, and you could just get, transport it to another place. And here's a bit I highlighted. What is this? I'll read it out. The night was black, and the highlights did little to dispel the oppressive sense of being in an island of light surrounded by an eternity of darkness. There were not even any stars. The night sky was cloaked in thick, low clouds. And that's the sort of, like, the atmosphere of how his writing style is very good for the cosmic horror. It all goes up to the stars and the sky and the darkness, and he loves H.P. Lovecraft, let's put it that way. The Four Horsemen, that kind of goes, I thought it was a western, but it's not. I think it's set in Africa again, and it's a very eerie one, monsters and stuff, so I'll not say too much about that. And there's The Duelist, the one that I talked about, and here's a great wee line here, I highlight it. This is The Duelist, the German guy, and they're up in this, they're in this different world, this different realm, and he says, where are we? Where do you think we are? And the German replies, I think we are in hell, but the beast has not yet revealed itself. And you're like, it's that fear of what's coming next. And a lot of horror, it describes the beasts in full detail, but you don't get that in Weird Tales. A lot of the horrors in your own imagination, you have to figure it out. You have to do the work yourself. I love that. Maybe not a lot of people do, but if you're picking up this book with Lovecraft's cat on the title, you're knowing what you're going to get, and you're not going to be disappointed. So we'll keep going. The Second Parcel, that's another good one. That's about this guy, and one of his friends passes away, and he gives him 2 parcels. And he reads the first one, and it's like a letter of his friend, or not a letter, I think it's like a thing he listened to in that one, and he ended up, he can't, it's like curiosity, if somebody tells you not to do something, but you can't help yourself because you want to know yourself, and I'll not say what it is that his friend was telling him. I think it was a tape player. It could have been a letter. One was a tape player and one was a letter. I'm kind of losing my way there with that, so apologies. But again, it's like even you as a reader wants him to open the second parcel because it's a warning not to, that sort of thing. And then you're like, I want him to, but when what's he going to get? And that's very, it's, as I say, it's very clever, so it is. Beast of Babylon, so we'll miss that one. And I want to talk about the last story because The last story was my favourite. The Beast of Babylon's a good one too. That's like it's like a Sherlock Holmes, but not Sherlock. It's like, imagine Sherlock Holmes was a character, but it was in 1920s Germany with the Nazis, and this Sherlock Holmes, a very clever detective, was actually in the Nazi party. Now this is before the World War. This was the rise of it, and I would like to see more tales of him. That's one thing I will say, Chris. If you're watching this, I think it would be great to get a wee short story collection of the Nazi Sherlock Holmes. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of character, and him diving into the cults and Lovecraftian sects, and like not sex, sex, but sex as in sects. Just finding all them wee sort of manuscripts and stuff that are hidden and all, and I think you could really continue that character in a few stories, in my opinion. And obviously, it's up to you what you want to do. But I'll tell you, I'll say what I think my favourite story was, and it's probably one of the shorter ones, but it's my favourite. I think out of the whole collection. It was written brilliantly, and that would be Still Here, the very last short story in the collection. I think that is, for me, for a short story, it could be an award-winning one. It is that good. It's about this guy that goes, he's had a rough time with it. His life's kind of took a turn. It's not going in the vision that he thought he was going to be going with his life. So he decides to move out of the city and go into the country. But he finds this house, and it goes through liminal spaces, and he's finding keys, they open doorways, they find other places, and he goes into, I'm not even going to ruin it, but is he still there? You'll have to find out if you pick up Lovecraft's Cat, C.P. Webster. I was hoping to do a couple of videos for this, but I had problems with this fucking microphone and all sorts, so I just decided to do it all in one. I don't know what way it's going to turn out. I hope it turns out okay. But yes, any fans of weird tales, and you've read all the Lovecraft, and you want to dip into something new, it's worth picking up. It's for us. It's for the weird fiction fanatics. Yeah, definitely. So it is. It's a love letter to H.P. Lovecraft, in my opinion. And that's. Although I'll say about that, it's definitely for likes of me and all the weird tales heads. That's who it's for. Maybe if you're into your Stephen King sort of horror and Clive Barker, it might not be for you the same. But you had to try something new every now and again, and that's not a bad place to start. So it's not. So yes, we'll leave it there. I hope this turns out okay. Dragging on as usual. All the best, everybody.